In the news tonight,
I'm going to seek to meet the Speaker because this is not about Joel Senyonyi.
The Chief Executive Officer of Uganda Airlines, Jennifer Bamuturaki, has for the second day defied summons by Parliament's Kosase.
We are supposed to have money to clear the areas before we get the new financial year. But the money for areas is not enough. We get a small portion.
UNRWA releases end of 2021-2022 performance report indicating a performance that is beyond expectations.
Conservation and sustainable management of natural resources, where there's reports on social media, civil society.
Also tonight, European Union tasks government of Uganda to show its commitment towards conserving natural resources. And in sports, the Uganda Netball Federation, together with the She Crane players, attend Thanksgiving prayers after outstanding performance at Commonwealth Games. Hello and welcome to the program wherever you are watching us from. This is CTV's PM edition. I'm Benedetta Pio, our sign language interpreter, Isaac Luchamuzi. In our top story tonight, the Chief Executive Officer of Uganda Airlines, Jennifer Bamuturaki, has for the second day snubbed the Kosase Committee, where she is wanted to answer various queries related to her employment and management competence.
On Tuesday, Kosase chairperson Joel Senyonyi issued fresh summons to Bamturachi after her failure to appear before the committee. Bamturachi sent a letter to the committee saying she has a busy schedule and would be able to appear next month. Senyonyi vowed to issue a warrant of arrest against Bamturachi if she failed to show up today.
I'm going to issue summons today for the CEO of Uganda Airlines to appear here tomorrow without fail. If she does not show up tomorrow, we are going to issue a warrant of arrest. We have those powers as a committee.
Bamturachi stood her ground. She did not show up today. According to Senyonyi, he is going to seek the intervention of Speaker Anita Among into the matter so that the committee's report on Uganda Airlines is tabled in Parliament on time.
I'm going to seek to meet the Speaker because this is not about Joel Senyonyi. This is a committee of Parliament who are given instructions to do this work. We want to see if there can be support we can get from the office of the Speaker to be able to do this work.
Senyonyi says the committee has to know whether the Uganda Airlines is a private or a government entity, given the impunity of its managers. Following the stalemate, Senyonyi has summoned the shareholders of Uganda Airlines, that is the Minister of Works, General Edward Katumba Wamala, and Minister of Finance, Matia Kasaija, to appear before the committee tomorrow and explain the status of Bamturachi as the CEO of the national carrier.
As far as I am concerned, Uganda Airlines is owned by the people of Uganda. They're the ones that inject money into it. But looks like there are people who own Uganda Airlines and they want to drive it a certain way. So this is something, good clarity we shall want to get from these two ministers so that we know. If Uganda Airlines is owned privately by some individuals, then maybe it's not our business as Parliament, and then we leave it alone. But if Uganda Airlines is a public entity falling under our committee, it is our business. And so tomorrow we are hoping we'll get very good clarity.
During today's hearing, the committee interacted with the former CEO of Uganda Airlines, Conwell Muleya, regarding his termination. Muleya said there were both internal and external forces fighting him, especially when he refused to entertain corruption and underhand method of work. He said that he was resisting illegal recruitment of relatives and illegal procurements, which could cause the airline losses at the infant stage.
There was a concerted effort in the media to tarnish my name, to say all sorts of things that I had done or detracted from the company or been corrupt, which things never happened. The truth of the matter is that for some reason there was a group that wanted me out of there.
You know, from the documents you have here, how were you being paid as a consultant, then acting CEO up to today, so that we are able to compare how you are paid and how they are paying today?
Acting CEO, 4th September, they added now, they put me on the payroll under PAYE, so they protected the 70 allowance, and it became 118,381,747. Yeah.
The committee had that Bamturachi contracted a Bavata, a public relations firm in which she had interest to carry out the publicity of Uganda Airlines. She reportedly inflated the invoice of the contract from $173,000 to $404,000. Sarah Nakandi for CTV PM edition.
Advisor, like I said,
Thank you, Sarah, for starting us off. Uganda National Roads Authority has released the end-of-year 2021-2022 performance report, indicating that they performed up to 86% of their total expectation. During the period under review, UNRA constructed and upgraded over 5,000 kilometers across the country.
At the end of every financial year, the Uganda National Roads Authority releases a report on their general performance and the way forward on how to improve the country's roads network. During the 2021 to 2022 financial year, UNRA requested for 3,654 billion Ugandan shillings from the Ministry of Finance, but they received 3,150 billion Ugandan shillings. During this period, over 5,000 kilometers of road network across the country have been handled in terms of construction, rehabilitation and upgrading.
We have Metiana Muvende, 8 kilometers, 86 kilometers and 15 kilometers of town roads. These have just started, and the periodic maintenance of Kampala-Jinja road is ongoing. And finally, the Hima Katungu phase 2, 33 kilometers, which were completed. Total of these rehabilitation projects is 241 kilometers.
According to Mhozi, by the closure of the financial year, UNRA had a debit of 528 billion Ugandan shillings. This has delayed several projects since people whose property would be affected by such projects have to be compensated.
Ideally, if funds were adequate in the resource envelope of the government, we are supposed to have money clear the areas before we enter a new financial year. But the money for areas is not enough. We get a small portion as areas. But as you have seen in our budget here, we had an areas of around 500 billion something.
He said plans to install lights on the Entebbe Expressway are in high gear for security and safety purposes. UNRA officials say they have collected 1.7 billion Ugandan shillings from the road toll collection, which is beyond what they expected to collect annually.
On the Kampala-Entebbe Expressway, our performance so far is not 100%, but we can rate it as being good. We are supposed to have finished most of these activities, like road lighting, fencing, all the associated safety works. But unfortunately, because of the spillover of the effects of COVID, and also the global economic hardships that are emanating now out of other areas.
Transporters who are carrying loads that are out of gauge and abnormal on our roads, that we charge them some money to give them permits to be able to move on these roads. Last financial year, we collected 1.4 billion from that source as non-tax revenue. But as my colleague said, all this money that is collected, we don't use it directly. It is put onto the consolidated fund to cater for other government needs as well as ours. So we collect and put in one consolidated fund.
Government has anticipated to pay the loan that was used to construct the expressway from Exim Bank within a period of 30 years. According to UNRA, the debit is likely to be cleared within 17 years. UNRA has collected more than 1 billion Ugandan shillings in fines from truckers who overload and damage roads. Safi, Mokili Baluk and Chris, Semale Musemakula for CTV, PM Edition.
Residents of Boyikwe district are demanding for compensation to allow the construction of Chifunta to Bowampa Road in Nyenga municipality. The road is intended to improve access to the MMP Industrial Park.
The road in question is the one that connects from Kafunta to Bowampa at the MMP Industrial Park in Nyenga municipality, Boyikwe district. President Yoweri Museveni had earlier ordered for the construction of this 7-mile road to connect the business community. The road was to cost 299 billion shillings. However, before construction work started, locals protested on grounds that they had not been adequately compensated. In a meeting held in Bowampa, which was attended by the Minister for Works and Transport, General Katumba Wamala, residents revealed that they will not allow works to continue.
You say the road belongs to the Works Ministry, but you have left people to carry out construction. I constructed my house here. How will I be compensated?
You destroyed their boats. The youths settled here after. Now you want to chase them away.
According to the minister, they have managed to resolve a few of the underlying issues with locals to pave way for construction.
There has been an issue, which is a small one, which we wanted to settle, and that was about people who had developed. Many of them, yes, they had not legally developed these properties because they found the road here, and many of them actually encroached on the road.
General Katumba says that they are going to bring back the government valuer in some of the contested areas.
In the trading center with Bowampa, which is a bit congested, we are going to get the chief government valuer. Yes, many of them don't have land titles, but we have got ways in which we address even such kind of people who don't have land titles, and we find a way of mitigating the situation.
Members of Parliament from Boyikwe have urged locals to embrace the road works and projects.
The Minister knows very well what is complied in the Land Acquisition Act. When government wants to construct any project, it cannot use forceful construction. I want to appeal to my people of Bowampa to embrace this development of the Tamaka Road and also be patient until when the government valuer comes, we shall move around with him and value people's property.
I want to thank the NRM government specifically for the roads that are going to be done in Boyikwe. The Lugazi-Chiyindi Road is going to be done. We have done the design and the road is going to be done. We want to thank them for the MMP Park Road. We also want to thank government for all the markets they have put in Boyikwe. Boyikwe district is now coming onto the map.
According to government, they will expedite the process of valuing the land to allow roadworks that have stalled for years to continue. Hope Nyongereza, CTV, PM Edition.
Members of Parliament have put government to task to explain why coffee farmers have not received coffee seedlings despite a recent budget allocation. This follows a petition to Parliament by Devoted Coffee Farmers Initiative. Ransom Hire has more.
For years, coffee has maintained its position as Uganda's leading cash crop and one of the country's biggest exports, which is partly the reason why Parliament allocated a special fund to the Ministry of Agriculture to help promote the crop. However, it has been revealed today that the funds have been channeled to the parish development model.
The abrupt change of the program with no prior notice to the farmers, especially the registered coffee nursery operators and farmers not getting coffee seedlings under UCDA has had a negative implication on them.
In a petition presented to Parliament, farmers under the Devoted Coffee Farmers Initiative spoke out against government's move to terminate supplying coffee seedlings to farmers. According to farmers, this is now a recipe of a disaster.
The coffee seedlings, estimated to cost 71 billion shillings, have overgrown and are going to go to the waste if no intervention is made by government.
Right, Honourable Speaker, government needs to study and ensure that we recommit to go back to the National Coffee Organization.
Farmers went ahead and dug holes, applied farm manure, and every time we get a phone call from a constituency, they are asking, the pits are ready, the holes are ready, they want seedlings.
If government is able to fast track the implementation of parish model, then you will not have a problem of the seedling.
The Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Finance have been tasked to explain why farmers are no longer receiving seedlings. A report is now expected in Parliament next week on Wednesday.
Whereas we appreciated the parish model, we went ahead and appropriated money for seedlings. And the parish model has not yet started. But the planting season is going. Another fear we are having, honorable colleagues, you have very many nursery bed operators who borrowed money and prepared beds. Now, these people are stuck. They are stuck with loans. Some came to my office, they are crying. They are saying, if you can give us at least, only we supply this season.
If you have budgeted items that are going to generate more money, more economic activity, in my view, Ministry of Finance would prioritize them in the first quarter, so that in the subsequent quarters, you have increased economic growth.
Government for years has been taking the initiative to distribute high-quality coffee seedlings to farmers through Uganda Coffee Development Authority. Ramson Mihire, CTV Edition.
Thank you, Ramson. That story takes us in for a short break. More when we return. Thank you for staying with us. Welcome back. You're still watching a PM edition. Now, the European Union has tasked the government of Uganda to show its commitment towards conserving and protecting the environment. This was during an interministerial meeting with development partners where forest conservation and restoration in Uganda was at the forefront.
The head of cooperation at the European Union Best in Kampala, Caroline Edrinson, says the government needs to be consistent in the sustainable management of the environment by protecting endangered natural forests such as Bugoma Central Forest Reserve. She said that without serious commitment, European Union will not enter into a partnership for a 40 euros support for conservation.
On conservation and sustainable management of natural resources, where there's reports on social media, civil society, international media of alarming rates of deforestation in the country in general, but especially Bugoma is a case that attracts a lot of attention. So we have to anticipate and make sure that the conditions for signing that memorandum of understanding are in place when we get to COP in November.
This follows a directive by President Museveni tasking her to coordinate and resolve issues concerning Bugoma Forest and other forests as well as wetlands in the country.
Address these issues, I'm tasking the head of Prime Minister's Delivery Unit and his infrastructure team to work closely with Uganda Police Force, UPDF, government partners, and NEMA, NFA, Minister of Water and Environment, and the Boeing Mashuga to quickly resolve the Bugoma forest questions and ensure compliance with the requirements.
Bunyoro Chitara Kingdom and Hoima Sugar Limited have been claiming part of Bugoma Central Forest Reserve, a move that has been opposed by environmentalists in Uganda and abroad. The Ministry of Water and Environment, in conjunction with the Ministry of Lands and Natural Forestry Authority, as directed by Cabinet, is currently carrying out a comprehensive boundary reopening of the forest reserve to determine extent of encroachment. Nabanja ordered for the cancellation of titles in Bugoma Central Forest Reserve after consultation with the Attorney General.
Reducing our greenhouse gas emissions by approximately 22% by the year 2030. That's our commitment. We have also committed to increasing forest cover with my minister here of up to 21% by the year 2030.
As we talk now, there is a big group, a big team of surveyors from the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development who are in Chikube district opening the boundaries of Bugoma. Continuing with the opening, because the work started in 2021 but was suspended when almost 75% of the boundary was reopened by that time. So they have gone back to finish the opening of the boundary. And
the Minister of State of Land, Sam Mayanja, told the meeting that titling a forest reserve or wetland is unconstitutional and such titles are void.
Forest reserves, among the other things listed there, are for government or local government to keep in trust for the good of the people of Uganda. They are not available for titling.
Nabanja appreciated the European Union for their long-standing partnership and solidarity with Uganda, which has contributed the milestones so far registered.
Send a signal, a continuous signal, everybody, you are in wetland, constitution clear.
Uganda's forests and wetlands have been destroyed by people to carry out agriculture and grazing. Kevin Kasoma, CTV PM edition.
Still on environmental matters, the NEMA operation to evict encroachers from Luigi wetlands has concluded. NEMA started the operation on Tuesday with the help of police. The operation set out to evict hundreds of people who had set up gardens and floriculture businesses.
Today's main focus, we moved to the areas around the Busega roundabout, and we focused on illegal establishments, especially things like markets, taxi parks, and other structures that had been erected in the wetland without prior approval. Aside from the markets, there were some permanent structures as well as semi-permanent structures and other establishments like wood workshops, workshops that were manufacturing, dealing in cement and construction materials, and trucks for trucks. So a number of arrests were made, and also number plates were confiscated from the trucks that were found in the illegal parks, and the process is ongoing to have the suspects produced in court. It is one of the first enforcement exercises following government's deliberate effort to restore the wetlands of the country. So this activity, similar activities are going to be spread throughout the country in different areas where such natural resources exist.
In news from the region, Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud has pledged to eliminate the radical Islamist group Al-Shabaab in his first statement to the nation since the bloody attack on a Mogadishu hotel. And Angola's presidential election kicked off today in what is expected to be the most competitive vote in its democratic history.
President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud said that the people of Somalia are tired of condolences and endless mourning after losing respectable people in every attack carried out by the terrorists. He asked Somalians to prepare for an all-out war against the terrorists who he says are ruthless and hostile to peace. Last weekend's attack was the deadliest in the capital since President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud was elected in mid-May and the government took office in early August. The head of state convened a meeting of the National Security Committee on Tuesday, attended by the Prime Minister, the Interior Minister, and the Foreign Minister, as well as the head of the country's security services. He said they are determined to weaken the terrorists, who are destroying people until all the areas they are controlled are liberated. This is a priority for our government. The radical Islamists Al-Shabaab, a group linked to Al-Qaeda that has been fighting the Somali government for 15 years, launched a major attack on the Hyatt Hotel in Mogadishu on Friday evening. They stormed the hotel, a popular meeting place for government officials on the Muslim Day of Rest, detonating bombs and firing guns. The attack ended on Saturday night after security forces intervened. The group was driven out of the main cities of the Horn of Africa, including Mogadishu in 2011, but they remain entrenched in large rural areas and remain a major threat to the authorities. Angola started casting ballots on Wednesday in what is expected to be the most competitive vote in its democratic history, with incumbent President João Lourenço squaring up against charismatic opposition leader Adalberto Costa Jr. A struggling economy, the high cost of living, soaring poverty compounded by the COVID pandemic, drought in southern parts of the country, and the death of a former strongman president all loom large. The ruling People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola party, which has held power for nearly 5 decades in the oil-rich nation, is facing the most serious challenge since the country's first multi-party vote in 1992. 8 political parties are running, but the real contest lies between the MPLA and its long-standing rival and ex-rebel movement, the National Union for the Total Independence of Angola, UNITA. Opinion polls suggest that support from the MPLA, which won 61% of the vote in the 2017 elections, will dwindle, while the UNITA, which has entered an electoral pact with 2 other parties, will make gains. But UNITA's inroads might not be enough to unseat Lourenço, who is expected to secure a second 5-year mandate. Still, it is unlikely to be a smooth swing back into office for the 68-year-old who succeeded veteran leader José Eduardo dos Santos 5 years ago.
On the international scene, Ukrainians are marking the country's Independence Day amid tight security measures because of fears of renewed Russian strikes. Independence Day in Kyiv usually sees a massive military parade through the city center. Here is more.
But public events in the capital have been banned because of the concerns that they could become a target. It comes on the same day Russia's invasion of the country reaches the 6-month mark. United States officials say Russia is likely to step up its efforts to attack civilian targets. President Zelensky has vowed to liberate all of Ukraine territories occupied by Russia without any concession or compromise. Tensions have been particularly high after explosions in Russia-occupied Crimea and the assassinations of the Russian political commentator Daria Dugina. 6 months on, it's clear Russia's invasion of Ukraine has not gone according to plan. It was meant to take weeks. Instead, it has become a slow grinding war of attrition. The head of the United Kingdom Military Intelligence, General Sir Jim Hackenhouse, says the West already knew Russia would struggle to launch a full-scale invasion. But he is being surprised by the levels of incompetence shown by the invaders. General Hackenhouse says the expectation is for a long war with, he says, no decisive military action likely by either side this calendar year. The question then is, who is better prepared for a protracted conflict? For Ukraine, that is largely dependent on Western support, moral, military, and economically. President Putin will still be hoping that the West's unity will fray the longer this war goes on. And he's the one who will currently decide when this war ends.
PM Edition takes a short break. Sports is up next. Welcome back. You're still watching PM Edition. In sports tonight, the Uganda Netball Federation, together with the She Crane players, attended a Thanksgiving Mass today at Namirembe Cathedral to give thanks to God following their outstanding performance in the recent Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, UK.
Great cut and drive there. Not even 30 seconds gone. And
a week after the conclusion of the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, UK, the netball fraternity convened at Namirembe Cathedral to thank God. The prayers were organized by the Netball Federation and it was attended by the federation officials, the players and the coach.
nnyo ate ng'otugamba mazzi naye obedience y'abali be yagamba.
The team was received by Reverend Samuel Muonge, the head of missionary and evangelism at the church.
I want to appreciate the Shikrens. Of course, they came in the cathedral to pray, to seek a blessing from the Lord as they are going for the tournament. And when they came back, they left as number 5. They come back as number 1 in Africa to give thanks in the Lord. The Bible reminds us to always remember where God has taken us from and to give thanks. And it is on that note that the Lord will raise us even to higher levels. The fact that they have come to give thanks, they have known that God has made to happen. I pray that the Lord will continue blessing them and elevating them. And I'm praying that all other sports will learn, pick a leaf from the netball team, that when you pray for success and God gives it to you, you go back and give thanks. And also, in especially, I appreciate them for participating in the marathon by buying kits. God bless you and open more doors for them more and more.
The president of the Uganda Netball Federation praised God for the achievements of the team and the federation at large.
Before going to Commonwealth Games, we came here for prayers. Of course, we went to some other churches. We thank God that whatever we asked for, God gave it to us. During the last Commonwealth Games, the previous ones, Uganda was ranked number 7. And this time round, in the whole world, and number 3 in Africa. This time round, we returned number 1 in Africa and number 5 in the whole world, according to the Commonwealth Games ranking. It was a great achievement. Other teams got injuries. Their players were injured. Of course, some injuries are expected, but we thank God that none of our players got an injury, whether minor or severe. So there's no way we would just, keep quiet about it. We had to come back to God. Of course, we thank God when we were there. We returned and thanked God. We've been thanking Him into our homes and our various churches. But we thought it would be good to come to the place where we prayed for and say thank you to Jesus, such that other people will know the great things that God has done for us.
The Uganda Shikrens finished in the 6th position in the world rankings at the just concluded Commonwealth Games, and on the African continent are ranked number 1 among netball playing countries worldwide. It should be noted, Uganda will host the 2023 African Netball Championship in Kampala. Saikasin Sekalala, CTV PM edition.
Wow, what a move. Great cut and drive there. Not even 30 seconds gone, and Uganda are on the board, and not even...
The new State Minister for Sports, Peter Ogwang, has today assumed work. Ogwang replaced Tamson Oboa, who is now the government chief whip. Ogwang promises to improve sports facilities across the country.
Today is my day 1 in the office. It is a party which tells us that we must be able to be in the region. And work for my country. The second one goes to Mama, the First Lady. I am privileged that the President has brought me to work under Mama, whom we all know. She's our First Lady and she's our Minister of Education and Sports. I am happy that I've come to the ministry, and I'm happy that I've joined the sector where I have passion. As a sports person, I have been a football supporter and fan for quite many years. But also, I love athletics and I enjoy other sports disciplines. So being here is entirely a privilege. And of course, I want in a special way to thank my brother and Honorable Hamson Oboa, who is now my government chief whip, and our Mama for the tremendous achievements they have done for the sector ever since she took over, and my brother Oboa took over as the Minister of State for Sport then. For me now, what awaits me, of course, is to build on what the ministry has been doing to see how can we move forward. Because for me, I'm privileged that I've come in, like you must have heard yesterday, at a time that even in terms of funding, the budget for the sports subsector is almost about 47 billion, which is a one-off. I think it's the first time in the history of our country that we have the highest amount of money which is appropriated for the sports sector.
That story brings us to the end of a PM edition. But before I sign out, it is Wednesday. Gabriel Iguma is already on a standby in the other studio to take you through the big debate, a political, social, economic, name it all the topics discussed on the big debate. Good evening, Gabriel.
A very good evening to you.
It's good to see you. What is the topic of discussion tonight?
Well, we take from your top story today, Uganda Airlines. We'll be digging deeper into the issues surrounding the airlines. Some of the discussions that were taking place in one of the parliamentary committees and some of the revelations that have come from that. At the end of the day, how can this airline be made profitable? That's what we're looking at.
It's a very interesting and hot topic for many reasons. It has played out on the media. Second day in a row, the CEO has snubbed the committee. It is very interesting to see how it will play on from here onwards. But I'll leave it to you, and we'll look forward to that. Gabriel and his panelists are coming right up after the news. Be sure to stay tuned to CTV. Use the hashtag the CTV Big Debate. My name is Bernadette Pio. I have been joined by Isaac Luchamuzi on sign language. Good night.